number 6.
Leg 6, Spain break.
Although Francisco Sánchez Ruíz is the junior partner both in terms of age and achievement. He's from Murcia, by the way, and he's 26 years old. He was the European 9-ball champion in 2016, beating Joshua Filler 9-3 in the final. So he can play the game at a very high level.
Oh, he sure can. I was just checking the rack there to make sure that the balls were frozen or as close as they could possibly be. He's got a ball down, and it appears that they have a shot on the yellow 1.
For a moment there, I thought the 5-ball might be blocking the path of the 1. Did it travel quite far enough?
Now the 1 and 2 are at the same end of the table. The 3 back down. It goes into the 1 corner pocket. It also is lined up with the 9-ball. But you got to make the 1 first.
Yeah, they didn't quite have a full pocket there, the Spaniards, and wow, they've been lucky
Very
if
lucky.
the 5 is in the way. And there you can see it is. So the 5 was the hindrance for the Spaniards. Now it's come to their rescue. It's been the saviour.
Well, that's got to be depressing for the Vietnamese. I think they're shaking their heads right now. 1 millimeter turn of the cue ball, and all of a sudden the 1 is blocked. So Zhuang takes out the short stick and will just slightly jump it over the side of that 5 ball. Great shot. Well done.
And you have to think, especially now, they're pretty straight on this blue too. The 3-9 is in their thoughts. Well, it's been a match of combinations so far, Ted. Here we go with another.
Well, they got it. That was sitting there all the time, and they did a very nice job of getting to that combination. So Vietnam stems the tide. They're back in it. It's 4-2. They trail from Spain.
With Duong Quoc Huang in rack number 7.
Zhuang with a good jump shot there, and that wasn't easy. Didn't have to jump the full ball, but still the 1 was not that close to the pocket, so that was some really good skill he exhibited there. They potted the 2, then the 3-9 combination. He's got a good break shot here. They need a shot on the 2. If they go for a pocket, that's a heavy cut there, but there is a safety option as well. You can see that Nguyen looked at the 3, so he's going for this pot right here. They're not going to give up the table. Wow, that was struck with confidence. Oh, that worked out well. That worked out well. The 5 ball colliding with the cue there actually gave him good position. Wow, this is suddenly looking good for Vietnam, isn't it?
And I think Spanish problems all began in the fourth rack when a very poor positional shot was made by David Alcaide when he had a large margin of error. It was a pot to the middle that was really simple, but he overran position by Seung-woo. Ruíz then missed a bank, a double, and ever since there's been this feeling that the Vietnamese could get back into the match, which they are now in the process of doing.
And we have seen this time and time again in the sport of pool. When you flub an obvious or easy shot, as Alcaide did, he lost position on that 7 in rack 4. The Spaniards should have been out. They should have been leading 4-0, but they gave up the table, and they've been punished for it since. They did get 1 rack in the next one, but it's not gone well for them since then. And here, Vietnam quickly, after that nice comeback in the previous rack, break and run here to make it 4-3.
And right.
Yes,
and when Antoine's pot on the 2 ball to obtain position on the next ball, I thought was arguably the shot of the match so far. Vietnam very much back in the reckoning.
This is why, Phil, you can never give up in pool, especially in a winner breaks format. Sometimes you just have to ride out the rough patches and wait for your opportunity.
There will be alternative opinions on this, of course there will be from our viewers, but I think the winner breaks format for me works really well because it enables any match to still be alive. Even if someone is so far ahead, you always think there's a possibility of a comeback.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of our viewers, like myself, took to pool many years ago when it was always that winner breaks format, especially the Matchroom promoted events and the World Pool Championship back in the late 1990s and the 2000s, when it was always winner breaks and there was always that possibility of that amazing comeback, and sometimes there was, and it was just so much pressure. And some people say, well, it's not fair if the guy just sits there all the time and doesn't get a chance. But yeah, you got one great player running racks, there's a lot of pressure on him as well, because if he knows this great player sitting in the chair can do that to him, that's pressure. And that's excitement for the fans. So a ball down for Nguyen of Vietnam, and he leaves a shot on the 2. There's an open part of the table, rather the 1. There's an open shot on the 1, and there's an opening for the 2.
Yes, the little nudge on the 7 to the cue ball, that was quite helpful. Giving him the angle here to come across the table. Oh, he's butchered that though. He has butchered that. Duang Quoc-Wang.
That was bad. A golden opportunity. Completely blown.
Fortunate to leave awkward queuing over the orange 5 ball. This shouldn't be a problem in terms of potting it, but it does limit his positional options. He's done well there.
So the next ball after this will be that pink 4, which either goes in the side or the top corner.
They seem to have a pretty good partnership chemistry, these two. Chatting away, but not overly doing it. just enough communication, I think, from the Spanish that they know what each other wants and what each other's doing without adding confusion to the situation.
Well, that was a really bad miss from Vietnam. The first shot of this rack. And they're getting punished for it, as you would expect.
And again, the Spanish staving off a mini crisis. A very good rack to win, but the shot that got them in to win it was the opposite of very good. It was pretty appalling. And it was down to Duong Quoc Huang. A really bad miss. Okay, the ball that went astray wasn't the easiest pot, we have to say that, in fairness to him, but the way it was cued left an awful lot to be desired. And here is the shot in question. Grossly overcut.
Here it is again. And unfortunately for Vietnam, that left a wide open shot on the one with angle for the two. Spain does a nice job of clearing the colors after that, and they are breaking. They've broken pretty well in this match as well, so it's just a race to 7. Winner breaks. The winner moves on to the round of 16 here in Shanghai, and the loser is out. You can imagine kind of pressure on these teams. You come all this way. It's just a race to 7. Winner breaks.
Break.
It can be over in the blink of an eye. So he's got a ball down. Will there be a shot on the one? Yes. The 2 in perfect position. The 3 down table wide open.
Score-wise, Ted, they've not dominated this match quite clearly at 5-3, but in terms of the way they've broken off, I think they've been the most impressive I've seen.
Yes, impressive because they've been consistent, and I'm sure some of the players who are here in the arena, perhaps watching this event, are paying attention. Because yesterday, a lot of the players were smashing the balls as hard as they could, and with mixed results. Spaniards have had very good results so far. It should be pointed out, though, that there's no pattern racking. In some leagues or tournaments, you might see the 2 ball always at the bottom. Here, it's just the 1 at the top of the rack and the 9 in the middle. Everything else is random.
He's had a very good career, David Alcaide. We've talked about his Mosconi Cup appearances. He won the Big Predator International Championship in Portugal in 2009. Semi-finalist in the World 8-Ball Championship in 2011. Lots of achievements. Euro Tour winner, of course, as well. Good steady hand.
Yeah, he's a class act on the professional ranks, and he always comes well prepared, makes a good account of himself, and he's really upped his game in the last 2 years. That was close.
Yes, I think a Spanish heartbeat was missed there. Well, hard to imagine any scenario apart from a violent skid or a terrible mistake that could prevent Spain leading 6-3.
Great break shot. We keep talking about it. I know it sounds repetitive, but how important is it, Phil, to have a good break shot? Wow,
Right.
What a factor. 6-3 now.
Yes, Spain with that stand on the hill. To get the day underway with victory over Vietnam, but they're not quite there yet. They lead 6-3. Philippines against New Zealand coming up next, and then Chinese Taipei against Albania to finish off the afternoon. Before this evening, we see Greece in action, so too England. Imran Majid and Marc Gray, and the might of the United States will take on Singapore in the last match. Now, on the left-hand side there is Toru Kurabayashi, one of the Japanese players here, and he's watching this match with interest because if Spain were to beat Vietnam, they would play in the last 16 either Sweden or Japan. So on a spying mission, maybe.
Certainly what he's spying on is this break shot of Spain. They've been really successful with this. Such a massive advantage if you can figure out the break.
Some confusion here as to who is to break. The referee there, I think, intervened and realised that Francisco Sánchez Ruíz was in fact correct.
This is going to look good here. I'm telling you, a team can't be stopped if they're breaking like this. Look at the spread of balls. They've got one ball down. It's the orange 5. They bring the yellow 1 back off 2 rails. Leave the cue ball in the middle of the table there in position to get that 1. The 2 is open. Man.
These days, people love their box sets, don't they? One of the great hits was Breaking Bad. The Spanish team, they are breaking very well indeed. The opposite of Breaking Bad.
Either way, it's a good show. Either way.
Well, earlier on I did say they got pretty good chemistry as well, so that works.
No. No way. Oh, yeah. So these 5 balls, and it's on to the round of 16 for Spain.
Extension call.
How many racks have we seen like this where almost immediately you think there's certainties to win it?
So they're just discussing the pattern here, how they want to take out these colors.
I'll tell you what, Ted, and I'm not making an over-exaggeration here, I'm sure of this. If Spain continue to break like this, they have to be considered a very serious candidate to go all the way.
Absolutely. It is the most important shot in 9-ball pool. Yes, potting, moving the cue ball, safety play, also important. But if you can master this break shot, you make the game simple.
A one ball was missed at the start of one particular rack. It was a poor positional shot from Alcaide in the 4th. But in terms of breaking, they have been impeccable.
This should do it right here. David Alcaide. Just a slight cut on the 9 and a spot in the final 16.
Very impressive indeed. Vietnam vanquished, Spain successful. The final score, 7-3.
Spain, and they are through to the next round. Celebrations all round. Good win for Spain. And these are the match stats. Spain on top, really, but 3 racks for Vietnam shows they weren't totally bystanders in that.